Okay, so good evening. My name's Craig. I'm one of the computer science teachers here at the college. I'm also joined here by my colleague Zulfikar. He's going to be talking to you a bit about Btec IT in a little while. So as you can see, it says here we are the media and IT department. So in terms of our department, we have two main pathways that we offer. First, there is a Btec pathway. Second is A-level. Now in Btec, our department offers the extended diploma in IT, which is equivalent to 3 A-levels, the extended certificate in IT, which is equivalent to 1, and then we also have a national diploma in film and television production, which is a subset of creative iMedia, which is equivalent to 2 A-levels. In terms of A-level programs, we have computer science, we have media studies, and we have film studies. Now, 3 of those I'm not going to be talking about now because they're part of a different talk. So we're just looking at the 2 IT Btecs and the A-level computer science. But before we dive into that, I just want to give you a quick introduction and sort of general overview of sort of what happens here at the college. So the first thing to note is that students take 3 A-levels. That's pretty standard. Some high achievers take 4, but 3 is the standard. You can't take less than 3. We have standard college A-level entry criteria that you need to meet if you wish to attend the college, and that is that you need to get 2 grade 6s at GCSE, along with a further 3 grade 4s, and your maths and English language have to be at least 4s. So if you get a 3 in maths or English language, you would not be allowed to attend. If you were someone who was looking to do a 4 A-level program, we require 5 grade 7s for that. It's a lot more taxing to do a 4th A-level, just the extra workload, less time to do all the others. So we do only save that for very high achievers. The class sizes in our department, they tend to be in the range of 18 to 24. So they tend to top out at 24 because that's how many computers we have in a room. Now, for each of your subjects, you will attend 3 lessons per week. So that's 3 lessons per week per subject. One of those lessons is 1.5 hours long. And then in addition to that, so our 3 1.5 hour lessons a week, totaling 4.5 hours, there is a 30-minute intervention session each week that usually some students will be invited to. Sometimes we might keep a whole class in, but generally that 30 minutes we would tend to use for smaller groups of students. You will also have a group coaching set. That is like tutor time at school. That's like your form group, where you learn various life skills and deal with like your UCAS application and things like that. And then you have 1 supervised study session a week, where you are required to go somewhere and sit and work for 1.5 hours. So that's the sort of quick general overview at a college level. But what about A-level computer science? That's obviously one of the key things we offer. That's what I teach. Well, what we have here is it is assessed in 2 exams and 1 programming project. Now, the 2 exams, as is the standard with A-levels, will be sat by you right at the end of year 13. So 2 exams right towards the end of your time at college. They are worth 40% of the A-level each, the first of which is computer systems. So that is your more general theory exam. So we look at the way processors work, we look at software development methodologies, networks, databases, etc. Paper 2 is our algorithms and programming. So that is where you are problem solving, you're dealing with your computational thinking, you're writing algorithms to solve problems. And I did forget to mention at the start, but I'll just quickly mention it now. If you have any questions throughout, please use the Q&A feature, and then we will attempt to address those at the end. The final 20% then, getting back to computer science, is the programming project. So you actually get credit for it, which is nice, unlike at GCSE, where you have to do the project, but you don't get credit for it. And also what's nice about it is you get free choice of what you want your project to be. So long as it's complex enough and it solves a problem, you can do what you want. So we've had people make, for example, an automated Rubik's Cube solver. I've had someone create an AI for calculating flight paths. I've had all kinds of stuff. I had someone do a flight log because they were training to be a pilot. I've had chess. I've had all kinds of cool stuff. Really, it's up to your imagination. In terms of what an average week looks like, particularly in year 12, lesson 1 would tend to be looking at some new theory, where we would require some independent study from you before the lesson. So that would tend to take the form of note-taking from a resource such as a textbook. And then we take that knowledge that you have brought in beforehand and we'll apply it in some practical way. Lesson 2 is programming. So that's an hour and a half a week that we spend dedicated to programming. The language we use to do that is a language called Visual Basic. Now, there's a few reasons for that. One of which is simply that it's not Python. That's the language that almost all of you will be using at school. And what we'd like to do is we want you to learn a different language because you're far more employable if you know multiple languages compared to knowing just the one. And it's also very similar to the exam board pseudocode, so that helps you out a lot there in terms of answering those questions. So we take what I call a top-down approach to that rather than a bottom-up approach. So you might be familiar when doing programming that someone might have explained to you, okay, this is what an if statement is, this is what a loop is, this is what an array is, a list, etc. Well, rather than looking at it from that angle, we like to look at it from, okay, here's a big problem we need to solve. What elements do I need to solve it? Okay, well then, how do we use those? That's a top down from the big problem to the minutiae rather than looking at the minutiae in isolation and not being sure what to do with them. And then lesson 3, we would tend to consolidate the theory work we've done and do some more exam practice. Now, A-level computer science has some specific entry criteria. So you've got the standard A-level entry criteria, which I mentioned at the start. So that is 2 6s and a further 3 4s. We also have an additional requirement that your maths must be at least a grade 6. Now, we recognise that many people may not have had the chance to do computer science at GCSE, so we don't require that you have, but if you have, you need to achieve at least a 4. And that's really just sort of there as a catch to make sure that, well, okay, even if the rest of your results are good enough, if you got less than a 4 in computer science, it's probably not the right subject for you. Okay, so in terms of the course content, we'll just sort of go through this. As you can see, there's quite a long list of content here, and that's because we aim to get the majority of the theory work completed in year 12. And that gives us more time to really focus in year 13 on making the programming project the best it can be and giving you a chance to complete revision. Now, so you can look through this list of topics here. So we look at structure and function of the processor. So how does the CPU work? What's contained inside it? The various components, the buses, the registers. We look at what are the functions of operating systems. We might look at different software development methodologies. So what do we mean by agile development? What do we mean by extreme programming? We look at the different types of programming language. Now, almost certainly for the majority of you, most of the programming you will have done so far would be what we would call procedural programming. Now, we obviously look at that, but we also look at something like object-oriented programming, or we go somewhere completely different and we look at assembly code. So those lower level languages. We look at various databases, we look at how networks operate, we look at web technologies. So that will require you, learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript to really build up the skill to build websites. Look at data types, so that's like binary. How does binary work? Because that's machine code, that's what computers understand. We'll look at the important data structures. So you're probably familiar with things like arrays and lists, but we'll take that a step further and we'll look at stacks and queues and graphs and trees and all other such data structures. And then, Boolean algebra, we look at some legislation. Ethical, moral, and cultural issues is something that will run throughout the 2 years. We look at how do we think computationally, and we look at various work involving algorithms, and we will start the programming project. In terms of year 13, I'm sure you'll be glad to see that's a much shorter list, and that is because, like I say, we do the majority of the theory in year 12. So what we will look at in year 13 though is we'll get the programming project completed. We'll do the bulk of that. We look at the different types of processor. We look at compression, encryption, and hashing. We continue with that work on ethical, moral, and cultural issues. We do computational methods, and we look at some more advanced algorithms. So, for example, pathfinding algorithms. So if you're ever curious how a sat-nav is able to decide the optimal route, well, they use pathfinding algorithms, and we look at a couple of examples of those. Just a quick case study. So this is just an example of one student we have here who has done computer science. They achieved an A in computer science, as you can see. They did an EPQ alongside their 3 A levels, and they went on to do computer science and software engineering at the University of Birmingham. Okay, so that's me done talking for the next little while. I'm going to hand over in a moment to Zulfikar, who's going to talk to you about Btec. But just a reminder that you can use the Q&A feature at any time, and we will address your questions at the end.
Right, okay, so as Craig said, I'll just go through briefly about the Btec program. And obviously, it's a different way of actually getting to the same destination. So before I do that, I'll just sort of play the video for you so you can actually see it working. Just give me a second. Right, here we go. Right, so I mainly teach the extended diploma, and I'm kind of responsible for the programming element. So you saw there was programming, there was game development, website development, and animation. But I mostly concentrate on the programming. Now, obviously, I might see some questions about I've done any programming for anything like that. We do not expect anybody to be proficient straight away. We will build you up. In terms of the types of programming language we use, so for Unit 4 programming, we use a variety. So we use Visual Basic mainly. We use a bit of C# for a particular program, and then obviously for the game development we use HTML5, which involves HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you do have a broad range of skills when you actually do the Btec IT, and there's a lot of practical skills that you can actually employ. The downside obviously is that we don't give you an in-depth, you know, if you want to explore further, it's where you go to university and explore that further. But we give you a range of sort of diverse units that you can actually apply these skills into. So that's one of the benefits of doing it. I will go through the two types of qualifications we offer. So we've got the extended certificate, and then obviously we've got the extended diploma. So the extended obviously certificate is the 1 A-level equivalent. The other questions that sometimes we do get is, can I do A-level computing and the extended certificate? And then obviously my other A-level, yes, you can do the IT as well. Just because you're doing computer science, you know, you can do the extended certificate as well alongside it if you wish to. So I will go through the extended certificate in terms of the breakdown for it. In terms of the gradings, obviously it works slightly different. So you know, you normally have your gradings there, but we basically grade it on distinction, star, distinction, merit, and pass. Now the only difference is with the distinction star, that will be your overall grade for 1 A-level, but your gradings will vary from distinction, merit, pass for your exam and your assignments. And when you combine that all together, then that will give you the overall distinction star. I will go through that later on in terms of using a Btec calculator, so you can understand what I mean by that. But you can see here, getting a pass, obviously you will get a grade, but you can see the difference there. It's a grade E. So you need to be aiming, you know, somewhere obviously in the distinction criteria there, but you can see the A, C, and a massive drop to a grade E. So we do encourage making sure our students are always aiming for distinctions. Right, so going through the program then, so the A-level, the one A-level equivalent then is broken down into sort of 2 units per year. I'll focus on the first 2 here. So in year 1, you've got unit 2, which is your controlled assessment exam, and then you've got year 13, which is your written exam. So unit 2 is sort of creating systems to manage your information. Basically, it's just a database exam where you'll be given a scenario and you will have to create a database, well, a relational database from scratch, making sure that you've got data integrity, you've used validation, you've used queries, reports, all of the skills to make sure that you've actually satisfied the requirements for that particular scenario. And then unit 1 is a written exam. And again, this exam is 2 hours, and either will be done in January or June, depending on the program. So most likely we'll be probably doing it in June. So you've got a variety of different assessments. So you've got the controlled one where you're going to be under exam conditions and then submitting electronically this piece of work. You've got a written exam, you will be in a hall doing an exam, and then obviously the rest of it there, unit 3, unit 6, it will be assignment based where you will have no more than 2 assignments, and then you'll have set times for that. So you might have 2 weeks, 3 weeks to complete the assignment and then submit that online. Okay, and then obviously that's the 1 A-level equivalent program. That sort of builds on with the extended diploma, which is a 3 A-level, which takes the elements of some of these units and we add a little bit more to it. So this is the whole program study for year 1. Okay, so unit 2, unit 1, you've gone through that already. Unit 3 is assignment, unit 5 is assignment, and then 4, 8, and 13 is assignment. Now that is basically combined together, where we've got unit 4 programming, unit 8 computer game development, and unit 13 which is software testing. And that way, by combining it, it makes it a lot more easier in terms of you not repeating yourselves, and in terms of marking as well. We can actually assess you based on using one set of criteria to get you assessed. Okay, going on to year 2, you will have 2 main exams, unit 14 and unit 11, and the rest will be all assignment based. So unit 14 and unit 11, you will either do that again in January or June. Common questions that I do get is, if, for example, I didn't do very well in the January exam for a particular unit, what happens? Do I fail? No, that's not the case. You will have an opportunity to resit the exam. Now, the only disadvantage is that you will have to subsidize that. So if you wish to retake that exam, there will be additional cost to it. And that might vary from, I think it's probably about £30 or so, something like that, where you will have to then pay for the fee, and then you will be able to retake that exam. So it's not the case of if you fail it and that's it. No, there is an opportunity to retake the exam. Moving on from that, then we've got several students who've done very well, and obviously you can see from the case studies here, a lot of people do vary in terms of what they want to do in terms of degrees. So we can see here, Nathan did cybersecurity, Tatum did computer game technology, and then Umar did computer science. I will go through some of the areas where most people do like to go to university and study, and predominantly it's computer science with computer games development, and then cybersecurity, and then the rest follow from there, with a few doing some web design from there as well. Okay, careers and progression. We do have other vendor qualifications that some students do alongside it. Again, you can do the extended EPQ, extended project qualification, alongside it, and you can actually use some of your project work or your assignment work to help you actually develop your EPQ, which obviously again will give you the UCAS points, and that might actually help you with your entry requirements for your university program. We have some students doing the Cisco program alongside it. I think I had one student doing that. For those who don't know what that is, it's a recognized qualification for networks. Again, industry standard. Obviously, if you have these kind of qualifications, it does give you that necessary edge over the other candidates. Okay, I will go through. One second. I'm just gonna show you the content in terms of the Btec Calculator. Here we go. Yep. Right, so looking at this, we encourage all our students to basically download the grade calculator, and the way it works is, if I just go through one example here for the extended certificate, which is the 1A level. So you've got your four units of study there. Some are external, internal. External just means that they're exam, internal meaning that they're going to be assignment based. Now, some people ask me about the mandatory and optional. All it means is that the board are saying that you must do these units, and optional meaning that the college has the option to do this particular unit. That's all it means. You still have to do them. So when we go through it, we encourage our students to basically put some predictions down, and then when they get their grades, then they can start develop a sort of flight path as to what they need to get overall to get that desired grade. So let's say, for example, 25 gives me a merit, which is a grade C. I do really good on the database exam, and I get the top marks on there. Distinction, which is a grade A. An assignment, I done very well again. I got a distinction, grade A, and then I got a merit over there. You can see my overall grade is a D, which is a grade A. Okay, obviously the better I do. So for example, if I was to get a distinction in my website assignment work, okay, and I improve on the exam. So it's not that easy to get that D star. So you'd have to get distinction in every single one there. So it is quite challenging. It's not an easy Btec. So just be mindful of that. The other thing I would mention as well is that you will have multiple assignments on the go. So you might have, for example, Unit 3 and Unit 6 perhaps on the same time. There might be even necessarily launched on the same day. It might be the deadline might be on the same day as well. So you might make sure that your organization skills are very good to make sure that you've actually have enough time to complete each of the tasks. Okay, I'll quickly show you. I'll stop sharing that. I'm going to show you the specification for one of the. Here we go. I'm going to show you the specification for one of them. So I've got the. Here we go. Unit 4 then. Okay, so you can see here we've got the specification. Each specification, it pretty much has the same layout. So you've got your introduction there. A learning aim will be broken down into section A, B, and C. Now, what you'll find is your assignments will be split up. So, for example, you'll have one assignment for maybe section A, and then the other assignment will be section B and C. So you can see here we've got the content here for A, B, and C. This is all the content for section A, and then so forth and so forth. The interesting part that most people need to look at is the assessment criteria. So we've got all the pass criteria here. So you can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 pass criteria. Okay, and then we've got merit, and then we've got the distinction criteria there. So what would happen normally is that your first assignment will probably be all of section A. Then we would combine section B and C all together. Okay, so the idea is that if now we encourage all our students to basically start off with a pass first, then move on to the merit, then move on to the distinction. Okay, that way you've covered everything, because if you're trying to jump from one place to the other, it'll be very difficult to show or demonstrate to us that you've actually met that criteria. So we always provide you with a checklist. You would always have some kind of assignment planning stage beforehand when you do all of your assignments, and you'll have adequate time to do your assignments. Typically your assignments will vary from taking probably about 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so you will have either 2 weeks or 3 weeks depending on the assignment unit that you're doing, and you'll have to submit that, and obviously you'll mark it, you'll get feedback on that. Okay, so I'll quickly just go to the last PowerPoint about how to apply, because some people will probably ask about how do we apply. Here we go. Going back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so how do we apply? So all you do is go onto the Solihull website and apply on the normal link there. Obviously, when you apply, you'll be asked to complete an online application. Then we'll send you confirmation, and then obviously we'll contact your school for a reference. Then you'll be invited for a quick college interview, and then obviously we'll discuss with you your options, and then you'll be given a provisional sort of conditional offer, and then obviously based on your results, then you'll be asked to come in, and obviously then you can be enrolled onto the course. So that takes me up to the last 5 minutes, which will give you an opportunity to answer your questions. Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. So brilliant. So we've got a few questions here. I think some of them came in before we addressed the issues, but I will just reiterate just to make sure people are clear. So we had that you haven't done GCSE, IT or computing. Will it affect you if you want to do BTEC IT? No, it won't. You can absolutely do the course without having done a BTEC or without having done IT or computing. We've got what GCSE grades you need to study the course. So again, for computer science, it's standard A-level entry criteria, which is 2 6s and 3 4s, plus a 6 in maths. With the BTEC, it's the standard A-level entry criteria of 2 6s and 3 4s. With the BTEC extended, some of those 6s and 4s can come from A-level equivalent courses. So if you're doing like a level 2 BTEC, so GCSE is level 2, A-level's level 3. If you're doing a level 2 BTEC in something, then that grade could count towards your entry criteria for the BTEC extended, but it can't count towards it for extended certificates or A-level computer science. What's the difference between A-level and BTEC? Hopefully that became clear throughout, but just to reiterate that, A-level, while there is a coursework project, most of it is exam-based right at the end of year 13, whereas with BTEC you're assessed continuously throughout, so there's less pressure right at the end. It's sort of like more constant as you're going through. I've had, what's the exam board for BTEC IT? The exam board for BTEC IT is Edexcel. In terms of, someone's asked, can I view this session again later? I believe they will be published on the website, so you should be able to access that. What type of IT apprenticeships do we offer? So we don't directly offer IT apprenticeships. That would be something you would either do instead of coming here or something you might do after you finish here. So can you do the extended diploma alongside 2 A-levels? No, you can't. So the extended diploma is a 3 A-level program. So that would be your full program of study. You wouldn't have time to do anything else alongside it. So when you're given an offer, do you just have to accept it or decline it? Yep. So when you're given the offer, we hope you would choose to accept. If you do accept, then you would be invited to enrollment in August. You would be invited to enroll in August, and then that is when you would confirm your final subject choices. I've had, what's the difference between the level 3 and level 2 BTEC? It's just the level of qualification. So a level 2 BTEC is a GCSE equivalent. A level 3 BTEC is an A-level equivalent. And finally, for the moment, how many exams for A-level computing? You do 2 exams for A-level computing, and those are both at the end of year 13. So I think that wraps us up here. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that was useful, and we hope to see some of you at interview and hopefully at enrollment in August. Thank you very much. Bye.